Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, to show our gratitude to the Almighty, now we would like to invite Mr. Dedi Prestiadi, SPD IMPD, to lead to the prayer for today's conference. Mr. Dedi Prestiadi, SPD MPD, time is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please allow me to guide this prayer with Islamic religion. If you are not Muslim, you can pray with your respective religion. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Hamdan syakirin, hamdan na'imin, hamdan yuwaffiqu masida. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhil karim wa 'azimi sultanik. Allahumma sholli ala sayyidina Muhammadin sholatan tunjina biha min jamil ahwali wal afat wa taqtilana biha jamil hajat wa tutarihuna biha min jamil sayiat wa tarfa'una biha indaka alal darajat wa tubalighuna bi aqsal hayat min jamil kharafil hayati wa ba'dal mamat. Allahumma rzuqna ilman nafian wa faman amikan wa ru'yan sofian makbulan wa rizqan wasian halalan thayyiban mubarakatan. Allahumma yasir umurana wa tawil umurana wa qdi hawaijana wa naj'alna fid dini wad dunya wal akhirah. Allahumma la ta'lana fi majlisina hadatan ban illa fartah wa la haman illa farstah wa la dainan illa qadaitah wa la mu'siran illa yasartah wa la aiban illa satartah wa la jahlan illa alamtah wa la dulman illa qadaitah. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Rabbi firli wa li walidayya warhamhuma kama rabbayana shighara. Rabbana dhalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas samiul alim wa tub alaina antat tawwabur rahim. Subhanaka rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Thank you very much and enjoy your conference.
We invite the Dean Faculty of Educational Sciences, Universitas Negeri Malang, Mr. Professor Associate Professor Ahmad Yusuf Sobri, SOS MPD, to deliver the opening speech and to open the conference. Mr. Associate Professor Ahmad Yusuf Sobri, SOS MPD, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. Greeting of virtue, my peace be upon us all. The Honorable Prof. Sin Hung Wu, PhD, National Chung-Hang University of Education, Taiwan, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Asri Muhammad Nur, Sultan Idris University of Education, Malaysia. Professor Annabelle V. Veldes, PhD, Mindanao State University, Philippines. Professor Dr. Ahmad Supriyanto, MPD MSc, Universitas Negeri Malang, Indonesia. Dean of the Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Malang. Committee, lectures and education staff, all approach ICEMT 2022 participant. The ICT EMT 2022 theme related to the post-pandemic information and communication technology update and education management, giving hope for a good future. Pandemic situation and endless wars are indeed for a formidable challenge at this time, but academic momentum remain the backbone for development of the Brighton Edge civilization. The International Conference on Education and Management Technology was convened to bring together academic, researchers, teachers, education entrepreneurs, practitioners, and policy makers. They are responsible for implementing education technology by leveraging research through education management to create and enable ecosystem capabilities and access to education. The COVID-19 pandemic has taught that aspect of information and communication technology and education management are full of limitation. Inevitably, education users have moved dramatically to online channels. Students and teachers are used to learning from home. There are opportunities and also challenges. Even though the pandemic isn't over yet, future updates are needed. Management and technology challenge quickly driven by a pandemic carried out in emergency situation. This emergency situation must have become established and improved over and over again because change is inevitable. The acceleration of the education system toward change is no exception. Various education management issues were discussed in this conference. These issues include volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, big data analysis, and data mining for planning, implementation and evaluation of education, information technology for planning, implementation and evaluation of education, information technology management for planning, implementation, and evaluation education, education analysis, e-learning, and massive open online course, and information system and use of social media in teacher management. The two contributions of this conference has become valuable knowledge and practice. I hope that this brilliant academic climate will continue to grow at State University of Malang in Indonesia in general. Mastery of Science and Technology is a non-negotiable necessity. Strengthening aspect of management and technology is a strategic effort in the national education system. The global situation in last 3 years, the French competition as a result of globalization has indeed declined sharply. The black period of globalization curve during the COVID-19 pandemic, economic integration and connectivity face a bleak situation. Previously, during the 1918 until the 1990, including Indonesia, it's become one of the keys of to growth and development in education. May the world situation get better and grow toward a peaceful and prosperous civilization. Have a nice conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Associate Professor Dr. Ahmad Yusuf Sobri, SOS MPD. Now, the first international conference on education management and technology 2022 is officially opened. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the opening ceremony of the first international conference on education management and technology 2022. And the honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, we invite our keynote speakers for the plenary session and moderator, And please give a big round of applause to our moderator, Mr. Dr. Made Dwananda Kartika Degeng, SPD MPD.
Okay, let me repeat. Sorry for technical issue. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our first international conference on educational and management and technology from Universitas Negeri Malang. Well, this morning, I knew that sometimes we already have many plans in weekend, and sometimes we also do something else. But at this very rare moment, I believe this is very rare moment because we have top big four of our scientists or perhaps our technologists that will be present their paper. And we knew that this big four came across Asia. So before we continue this one, let me present you that I am your moderator today, and my name is Made Dwananda. So please, if sometimes we have a time or sometimes we have a moment to meet, just call me Made, or you may call me Nanda, and let we see what happens next. Okay. Okay, thank you. And now perhaps I may call Professor Sin Hung Woo. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Professor. Are you okay? There you are. Okay,
Okay.
let me give you some brief introduction from Professor Sin Hung Woo. Okay. Yeah. Professor Sin Hung Woo received PhD degree in Industrial and System Engineering from University of Alabama from USA in May 1998. Okay. And he began his academic career in August 1998 too as an assistant professor. He then became an associate professor since November 2001. In August 2006, he became a full professor. Congratulations. Currently, he is a full professor in Department of Business Administration at National Changhua University of Education, Changhua, Taiwan, Republic of China. Okay, that's my brief introduction from Professor Sin Hung Woo. So please, if you're ready, you may begin, Professor.
Okay. So I just switch here. So how much time do I have?
You have perhaps 30 until 35 minutes, 40 tops.
Okay.
35 is okay.
35 is okay. Okay. Let me see. Let me check. Okay, this one. Well, let me check. This one. Okay. Hmm. Let me check. Well, I cannot. Switch this one. So you did not. Well, I'm still in here, so let me check. Let me check this one. So I'm still not successful. Okay, let me check.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes. Did you
Yeah.
have you seen my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, well, good morning. It's a great honor. It's great honor to have a presentation at 2022 International Conference on Educational Management and Technology. And the topic here is about identifying high burnout medical staff from a regional teaching hospital in Taiwan. Before we get started, I would like to show a brief introduction of myself. For the upper part, these are my current these are my current positions. For the lower parts, you can see that these are the awards and the recognitions in recent years. Okay, uh, this slide shows that my academic performance in terms of the H index of 24 from the Scopus databases, and this one is from the Web of Science, and as you can see, the H index is 23. And my current research areas include dementia care, big data analytics, patient safety culture, customer relationship management, and the service quality. And you also can see my selected publications from 2021. Uh, all of these 5 papers uh, have been already published in 2021 or 2022. Myself is the corresponding author for all of these 5 papers. Okay, let's go back to the topic I'm going to address. We just want to have the introduction first, and then I'm going to have a brief review about the mass lab burnout inventory, human service survey, then Chinese version of the safety attitudes questionnaire, a study, and finally with a conclusion. Um, in here, you will see that burnout can be defined as losing enthusiasm for work, treating people as if they were objects, and having sense that the work is no longer meaningful. In in a hospital, physicians overwork, stress, and fatigue are contributing factors to medical errors. In addition, an increase in nurses' workload would result in higher infections. Moreover, burnout is a response to the prolonged exposure to occupational stress that influence the individuals, organizations, and healthcare service recipient negatively. So, as you know, uh, the patients might suffer serious medical errors from burnout medical staff, particularly from physicians and nurses. Therefore, it is essentially important for hospital management to identify those burnout medical staff. How can we evaluate the 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 medical staff, the degree of burnout? Actually, we can use the mass lab burnout inventory human service survey, which has 3 dimensions along with 22 questions. This instrument has been widely used in practice to assess the degree of burnout for medical staff. These three dimensions from the Maslow burnout inventory include emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and the lower personal accomplishment. In Taiwan, the current Chinese version of the safety attitudes questionnaire has incorporated emotional exhaustion dimension from the Maslow burnout inventory human service survey since 2014 to assess the degree of burnout from all of the staff's perceptions for each healthcare organization in Taiwan on a yearly basis. Obviously, for hospital management, they can try to use the Chinese version of the SAQ as a measurement tool to identify those nurses and the physicians and the others with a higher degree of burnout through emotional exhaustion dimension. And let's look at some information about the Maslow burnout inventory. Maslow burnout inventory was originally developed by Maslow and Jackson in 1981. Since then, this instrument has been widely used to evaluate the staff's degree of burnout. If you want to have detailed information about the instrument, you can try to access the following reference: Maslow and Jackson in 1981, the measurement of experienced burnout from Journal of Occupational Behavior. Maslow and Jackson define burnout as a psychological syndrome of emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and the reduced personal accomplishment that can occur among individuals who work with other people in some capacity. They also summarize that uh, the 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 burnout syndromes can be seen as follows. The first syndrome is increased feelings of emotional exhaustion. Uh, as emotional resources are depleted, workers feel they are no longer able to give of themselves at a psychological level. The second syndrome is about the development of depersonalization, such as negative, cynical attitudes and the feelings about one's clients, which is related to the experience of emotional exhaustion, and so these two aspects of burnout should be correlated. The third syndrome is about reduced personal accomplishment, which refers to the tendency of to evaluate oneself negatively, particularly with regard to one's work with clients. Um, in reality, Maslow burnout inventory has three major types to evaluate five types of people. As you can see from the slide, uh, the Maslow burnout inventory human service survey can be applied for medical personnel as well as for human service workers. And you also can see that they have the educator survey for educators. They also have the general survey for the general purposes. In addition to the general purposes, for the general use, the general survey can be also applied for the students. And in the talk, we just use the Maslow burnout inventory human service survey. So in here, this instrument is suitable to evaluate the burnout for workers, employees in health and social services. It has 3 dimensions and 22 questions. So you can see that uh, the first dimension is emotional exhaustion, which has 9 questions. The second dimension is depersonalization, which has 5 questions. The third dimension is personal accomplishment, which has 8 questions here. So right now, let's look at the MBI HSS, a brief look at it. So in here you can see there are 9 questions in emotional exhaustion, 5 questions for in the personalization, and 8 questions in personal accomplishment. Uh, in order to assess the degree of burnout, Maslach and Jackson suggest the use of frequency to assess the degree of burnout. As you can see here, uh, it is it's a 7 scale. It's a 7-point scale to evaluate the frequency for each respondent. Uh, the answer is from never to every day. So as you can see that each respondent is to answer each question from 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 one of the 7 frequencies. For instance, he or she can try to answer that I feel emotionally drained from my work from never to every day, depending upon his or her own conditions. Okay, let's go to the Chinese version of the safety attitudes questionnaire. Uh, the instrument is currently used in Taiwan since 2014, and it has 8 dimensions along with 46 questions, including emotional exhaustion dimension borrowed from Maslach Burnout Inventory Human Service Survey. As I said earlier, Maslach Burnout Inventory Human Service Survey is suitable for the medical staff. There are 9 questions adapted directly from the Maslach Burnout Inventory Human Service Survey for the Chinese version of the SAQ to assess the medical staff burnout. However, the scale is different. The original scale uses a 7-point scale to evaluate the frequencies of the burnout from never to every day. However, the scale in the Chinese version of the SAQ uses a 5-point scale to evaluate the degree of burnout from strongly agree to strongly disagree. In fact, these questions are wording negatively. Obviously, a higher value in each question represents a lower degree of burnout for medical staff. This is a typing error here. Let's look at the 8 dimensions and the 46 questions about the Chinese version of the safety attitudes questionnaire. As you can see that the words are kind of small, and probably you can see the right side. The right side from the top is the working condition. The second one is emotional exhaustion. The third one is work-life balance. And in here, our focus is on the emotional exhaustion. There are, as you can see, there are 9 questions here. And I just try to enlarge that part, so I just have a slide about the emotional exhaustion. The question number he used here is are from the numbers of the Chinese version of the safety attitudes questionnaire. These 9 questions are, I feel like I'm at the end of my rope. I feel burned out from my work till the working with people directly puts too much stress on me. Uh, in the instrument, there are 10 demographic variables, including gender, age, supervisor, manager, to the direct patient contact. And from a research viewpoint, if we have medical staff demographic variables, then we can perform statistical analysis by using either independent sample t-test or one-way analysis of variance to know if medical staff with different demographic variables perceive emotional exhaustion statistically different. On the other hand, we might just try to use cluster analysis, just try to identify those medical staff who perceive higher degree of burnout by grouping them together. Okay, if we try to use the cluster analysis, probably uh, probably uh, probably we uh, actually we are going to discuss it later. So let's move on to the study itself. The data collected here is in October November 2014 from the emotional exhaustion dimension of the Chinese version of the SAQ of from a regional teaching hospital in central Taiwan. The effective sample of size for the entire medical staff, including physicians, nurses, and the like, after removing incomplete questionnaires, is 6,180. Each question in emotional exhaustion is worded negatively and uses a 5-point Likert scale that ranges from strongly agree to strongly disagree with the respective value of 5 to 1. That is, a higher value for each question represents a lower degree of fatigue. To perform cluster analysis, in reality, there are a wide variety of methods that can be used. In this talk, we just use kernel k-means method. Before we try to use the cluster analysis, we just need to know what kind of input variables we are going to use. In this study, we just try to identify that the high burnout medical staff. Therefore, these 9 questions from emotional exhaustion dimension of the Chinese version of the SAQ are the input variables. Obviously, there are 9 input variables in the study. For the kernel k-means, which is very similar to k-means method, it cannot determine the number of clusters itself. Under such circumstances, we just need to have a tool to assist the kernel k-means to determine the appropriate number of the clusters. In this talk, we use the variance ratio criterion introduced by Kolinsky and Heribus to determine the number of clusters. There is a table here to show if we try to use different types of clusters, the variance ratio values are totally different. So under such circumstances, how can we determine the number of clusters? In here, we just try to pick up the maximum value of variance ratio value here. Obviously, when the number of cluster is 8, the variance ratio value is the maximum. Under such Under such circumstances, the number of clusters is set to 8 because because of the highest value based on variance ratio criterion. Because we have 680 employees, by the kernel k-means, we can classify these employees into 8 groups. With this in mind, we also can calculate the average values of 9 questions for each cluster, as well as the grand average values of 9 questions from the entire employees. And I just simply use Q1 to Q9 to represent 9 questions from emotional exhaustion dimension. An asterisk sign indicates that the average value of a particular question from a group is greater than the grand average. So in here you can see that there are 8 clusters. Each cluster has different sample of size. In here you can see that the cluster 1 has the largest sample of size of 158. In contrast, cluster 6 is the smallest with the sample size of 26. In here, you also can see that the grand average for Q1 to Q9 here. Obviously, Q9 has the highest grand average based upon a 5-point Likert scale. In contrast, Q6 has the lowest grand average among 9 questions. From the table, we can see that cluster 4 probably has the best employees who can perform better away from emotional exhaustion. Why? Because you can see that staff in the group 4 has all of the questions with 9 stars, indicating that their emotional exhaustion is pretty low. So as you know, cluster 4 is the best. In addition, you can also go to the cluster 1. Except for the question 9, the rest of 8 questions are pretty good because their averages are above the grand average, indicating that these persons are away from emotional exhaustion. And we also can see that cluster 5 probably the third best because except for Q3 and Q9, 7 questions, 7 out of 9 questions have the better average values than the grand average values. In contrast, you can see here clusters 2, 3, 6, 7, and even 8 are poorly performed because their average values are far below the grand average values. As I said earlier, a lower value indicates that a higher emotional exhaustion. So, in here, we just try to summarize the employees who perform better, who perform worse. In here, we can see that cluster 4 shows the employees are in low degree of fatigue. Cluster 1 are also in good conditions, except for Q9, working with people directly puts too much stress on me. Cluster 5 are also good. So if we try to summarize the findings here, we might just simply think that employees in groups 1, 4, and 5 are relatively in good conditions. In contrast, we might just simply find that clusters 2, 3, 6, and 7 are in high degree of fatigue. From the viewpoints of the hospital management, employees in these 5 clusters need to be closely monitored from time to time because they have relatively higher degree of fatigue or burnout. In general, employees in 8 clusters can be further categorized into 2 types of groups. For instance, we can identify a group named lower degree of fatigue, including clusters 1, 4, and 5, with the sample size of 396. In contrast to the lower degree of fatigue, we can identify higher degree of fatigue, including clusters 2, 3, 6, 7, and 8, with the sample size of 284. Um, with the study, the hospital management can keep track of their fatigue conditions and then provide timely assistance for the burnout recovery. There are a wide variety of methods to improve the staff the degree of fatigue. Here are some suggestions. For instance, we can use the so-called time resource management to improve the medical staff degree of fatigue. And we also can use mindfulness-based stress reduction program to reduce their burden. The third one here is the positivity currency. Uh, uh, we can try to use. We can try to emphasize the positive attitudes toward interactions, live events, and the memories, and express his or her the gratitude. The fourth suggestion is that we might just try to set up appreciative inquiry groups. Obviously, when we identify the high burnout medical staff, and then we can try to identify the methods to reduce their degree of fatigue. Finally, here, this talk introduces that we can perform cluster analysis to identify high burnout medical staff from a regional teaching hospital in Taiwan through Colonel K-Min's method. And I think that when medical staff who have a relatively higher degree of burnout have been identified, hospital management can initiate activities to reduce their burnout. As we all know that reducing medical staff burnout would result in lower medical errors to improve the patient safety for the entire patients and and the uh, and the family members. Even though even though the subject of the talk focuses on the medical staff. However, I think that the procedures I I just mentioned here can be also applied to assess the teacher's degree of burnout in terms of the emotional exhaustion. And if you want, probably you can use the entire mass lab burnout inventory to evaluate the teachers uh, degrees of burnout based upon the Maslach and Jackson's instrument. Thanks for the listening. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sin Hung Woo. If I'm not mistaken, perhaps it is from your article from Tay KM Journal. Is that right?
Uh, the talk, the the topic and the content of the talk is from my journal paper published in 2014. At that paper, we just performed the cluster analysis to identify the medical staff with different types of the fatigue. So I just think that if we can apply the procedure to the teachers and the professors, we also can identify the professors with different type of fatigue. Under such circumstances, university officials can try to initiate different type of activities to reduce their burden in order to provide students the better teaching quality.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. And perhaps later we have some times for discussion. And
Okay.
now, let we continue to our second speaker, Professor Annabelle Villa Valdez. Hello, Professor Annabelle. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Okay, so
Okay.
wait for a while. I will share my screen.
Yes, please. So let me read your brief introduction from Professor Annabelle Villa Valdez. She is a professor from Mindanao State University of Philippines. And then she got her PhD Science Education in Biology. And then
Sorry,
she also,
pag-share.
hello.
Okay, continue.
Okay. She also got his PhD in Educational Management. She also got General Science in 2002 and BS ED Biology in 1998. From April 2016 to present, she is a special assistant in the Office of the Vice President for Planning and Development, Marawi City. Mindanao State University. And also, wow, it's a lot of curriculum vitae you got here, Professor. That's a great. Uh, and for the last, perhaps I can say that she is a president of Alliance of Teacher for Innovative Education and Excellence Incorporation from 2014 to present. And now, are you ready, Professor Annabelle? Because I think I lost your sound. Are you still with us? Perhaps something happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, clearly.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. My microphone was unmute.
Okay.
Was muted. I mean.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Is my slide is ano? Can you see my slide?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Wait for a while. How about this one?
Not yet.
Not yet. Still?
Still.
Oh, money. I already share my screen. Ha, kani? Kani? Okay. Okay. How about this one?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Okay. You may have 35 minutes, 40 minutes top.
Okay, so thank
Okay.
you once again. So once
Yes.
again, good morning to each and everyone. So I would like to share our survey about evaluating synchronous and hybrid e-teaching and e-learning tools amidst COVID-19. So actually, this research is a comparative study between a state university and a state college from different provinces. So I have my co-author, uh, Jeffrey Villaver and Annalyn Goro, who are responsible for the data gathering of the other colleges. Okay, so we all know that because of COVID-19 pandemic that was started last 2019, so it brought drastic change to our educational strategies and platforms worldwide. And of course, in order to continue giving or providing education to our learners, the government in every country, particularly in the education sector, have moved forward to mitigate the problems and implement learning recovery programs by shifting educational platforms, mostly online classes. But we cannot deny the fact that many countries or even almost are not ready to have these online platform classes. And still, as an educator, we have to move forward and face the challenges. So educators have made a concerted effort to ensure the continuity of learning despite of COVID-19. And of course, in order to do that, any or mostly we are going to rely more on the available resources in our countries or in our community in order for us to provide continuously education to our learners. So likewise, in the Philippines, we also encountered a great problem in making online classes because we are really not ready technically and even financially. So in the Philippines, most of the educational institutions, particularly the higher education institution, we use hybrid or blended approach in teaching and learning. So we cannot really focus more on synchronous because we have a problem in technological handicap of our students and even also the readiness of our school system. Okay, so to continue, the goal of this study is to evaluate the perceptions of the students in terms of the effectiveness of synchronous. So this is together at the same time online learning students, teaching students online as synchronous via live streaming and other platforms. And also the asynchronous, wherein attendance of students at different times, and the blended e-teaching and e-learning tools. So this is used by selected teachers in Mindanao State University, Marawi campus, and the other one, the GH Cerrillos State College in Dumingag campus. So Mindanao State University is located in Lanao del Sur, while GH Cerrillos State College Dumingag campus is located in Zamboanga del Sur. So they are two opposite provinces. So technically, the objective of the study first is to determine the students' profiles in terms of their age, gender, course, gadgets used, and the software or program used during online classes. And second, we are going also to determine the discernments and opinion of the students with regards to synchronous, asynchronous, and blended approach of teaching learning. We also assess the benefits and educational outcome in using e-teaching and e-learning modes. And the fourth one, we also investigated the biggest challenges faced by the students when taking e-learning course. And of course, lastly, we also get the students' reflection as an online learners. So the research we use this evaluation is a combined quantitative qualitative design. So wherein we use survey questionnaire and of course interview for qualitative data gathering. Then the participants are the 500 college students, 255 from Mindanao State University, and 245 from GH College State University or State College. Uh, these 500 students were randomly selected according to their willingness and voluntarism. Then the instrument that we use for data gathering, we have the survey questionnaire via Google form, as well as the interview questionnaire also via online and other online platforms. We use email and even FB and messengers. So here for the findings, we have the first question, the first objective that we have in identifying the student's profile. So in terms of age, we have here mostly of the students from GH Cerrillos State College are belong to 16 to 18 years old, and 19 to 21 age bracket, which are already matured enough and responsible enough to do online classes. For the Mindanao State University, most of the students who participated in the survey is belong to a 22 to 24 age bracket, followed by 25 to 27. So mostly, they are probably third year or graduating students. Now for the gender, of course, majority, both in the different colleges, we have the GH Cerrillos State College are dominated by male, and we have also the Mindanao State, no, this is for the age. Okay, for the gender, we have, what happened? Gender. Okay. So for the gender, we have here for the Mindanao State University, it is dominated by male, similar with the GS State College, which is also dominated by male. So we cannot, female, I mean, female. So both colleges, no, the respondents are mostly female. And we cannot deny the fact that looking into the gender population that we have all over the world, so female really dominate the figure in terms of number of population. So that is why mostly of students in Mindanao State University and GH College are dominated by female as well. Okay, for the course, so we have here different three uh, courses who participated in the survey. For the Mindanao State University, we have the STEM. So these are the students coming from science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. Then the BSA. So these are students coming from Bachelor of Science in Agriculture. And the Tech Book. So these are the students coming from technical vocational courses. For the GH State College, we have also BSA. This is coming from Bachelor of Science in Agriculture. BSES, these are students from environmental science, and BS criminology. So as you can see here in Mindanao State University, most of the respondents are coming from the STEAM courses, while for the GS, they are coming mostly from the BSA courses. So this is because the GS State College are more inclined to agriculture, while the Mindanao State University, they are more inclined to science, technology, engineering courses. Okay, so for the gadgets they use, we have here the common gadgets used by students. For the GH State College, as you can see here in the graph, here the blue color, so most of the students are using their cell phone as their main instrument in using for their online classes. Whereas for the Mindanao State University, they both use cell phone and laptop. Comparing to the students coming from GH and Mindanao State University, it is really anticipated that the GH, mostly of them use cell phone because this state college belong to a province, while Mindanao State University belong or located in a certain city. And aside from that, the university administration provide free laptop to all our students in Mindanao State University. So that is the reason why that the students will be able to use both their cell phone and laptop because the university provided them with the laptop for free. Okay, so for the software or the program they use, we have here for Mindanao State University, this one, the first one. So the software that are really used by the students and the teachers from Mindanao State University is a combination of different software. We use Google Meet, Zoom, Google Classroom, the PowerPoint also are being used by the teachers and the students, and of course, Word or MS Word. Whereas for the GH State College, they use usually Gmail because the school or the school of GH is located in a small town wherein the internet connectivity is also very limited to the further school. But it is very interesting because the GH use Edmodo. So they will be able to have their educational software using for their online classes, which use Edmodo. Whereas for the Mindanao State University, we mainly use Google Classroom. Okay. For the second objective of the study, which is about the students' discernment with regards to synchronous approach, asynchronous approach, and the blended approach. So for the synchronous approach, as you can see here in the graph as well as in the table, so the students really strongly agree for the Mindanao State University. They strongly agree that the synchronous mode is better for learning. They also agreed that the duration for synchronization would be between 30 to 50 minutes only. So they said that they prefer to that particular time slot because sometimes they have a regular brownout and the internet connectivity also, and some of our students have no internet connection at their houses. They are going to buy internet tickets in internet cafe. And they also believe that asynchronous e-teaching and e-learning mode help them improve their performance. And they like synchronous interaction via chat. And they also like synchronous interaction with content via online PowerPoint presentation and video lessons. And they are also motivated to learn through synchronous modes. However, for the case of GH College, they only agree, agree all the statements about the synchronous teaching mode. But still, even though they agree, both colleges still in favor of synchronous e-learning and e-teaching mode. Okay, for the asynchronous approach, so same, no, the discernment of the students coming from Mindanao State University and from GH College, they have the same discernment about asynchronous approach, wherein they are all agree with the statements about the asynchronous teaching mode. So they believe that asynchronous mode is better for learning and improve their performance. And it will also 3D discussions interaction, and they find a PowerPoint presentation as very helpful for their online learning, particularly in asynchronous. And they also like asynchronous interaction with content via video lessons, because some teachers send their lessons PowerPoint presentation via converting it into video lessons. And they have also more motivation to learn using asynchronous mode. But unlike asynchronous, the Mindanao State University students strongly agree, while for this asynchronous, they only agree. Similar with the GH State College students. They have their similar opinion about asynchronous teaching mode. Then what about for a blended approach? If the synchronous and asynchronous approach are combined to be used as teaching and e-teaching and e-learning tools, particularly in online classes. Here, as you can see, students from Mindanao State University strongly agree that the instructor presence is essential while using e-learning resources. So that is why they prefer hybrid, sometimes synchronous and sometimes asynchronous. Then learning from a teacher is more effective than learning through e-learning resources. Then e-learning resources should be placed in classroom rather than labs. Then they also agree or strongly agree that e-learning resources is more difficult than learning through books and other library resources. So probably this is due to the fact that internet connection is their problem. And they also like blending the synchronous and asynchronous interaction with content via online PowerPoint presentation and also video lessons. And student to teacher interaction is very important according to them, both in synchronous or in asynchronous mode. The similar also, student to student or peer interaction is very important, whether it is asynchronous or synchronous. So that is why the students from Mindanao State University strongly agree with all these statements. While in comparing to the GH State College students, they only all agree for these statements about blended or hybrid approach. So based on the interview from the students, um, majority of them preferred that online classes should be time bound, and they preferred 50 minutes, particularly for synchronous, no, synchronous online classes. So this is the requested maximum time to be engaged in the synchronous online classes. So they also in favor of the following tasks for synchronous, asynchronous, or blended. So for synchronous, they prefer assignment, oral recitations, and exam. So this is because that it is very important that their exam is time limit, and it should be synchronous to avoid sharing of answers probably, or uh, getting answers from others or letting others to take their exam. So that is why they preferred that exams and oral recitation should be synchronous, should be live. While for the asynchronous, they prefer assignment, email, blog, video making, PowerPoint making, and quizzes. And for blended, combining both the synchronous and the asynchronous, so they have also the same preference. They wanted assignment, email, blog, video making, PowerPoint making, and quizzes, whether it is asynchronous or be in a synchronous one. Okay. However, they also stress out some strengths and weaknesses on online classes. For the synchronous, this is the common strength that they identified. So according to the students, the preferred synchronous because there is a live interaction of their instructor. So they feel that they are similar or like within the classroom because they have a live chat with their instructor, and they can also communicate with with their classmates at the same time. However, the weaknesses are, so the disadvantage according to them for the synchronous, it is time bound. So after the session, they cannot go over or review again for the class session because the time is already elapsed. And it is also connectivity bound. Sometimes when there is a internet fluctuation, internet connectivity is fluctuated, so they lose contact with the uh, teachers discussing the lesson. Because in live streaming, there is a requirement which is a high bandwidth for internet connection. And in synchronous also define it difficult because there should be an immediate response. Okay, because it is online and it is doing the same time, and they cannot go over, they cannot think it more for a certain period of time because it is response is very necessary immediately. So that is their uh, perception about the weaknesses of the synchronous. And aside from that, when there is also electricity disruption, brownout. So when there is a brownout, then no more connectivity for their online classes. Okay. So for the asynchronous, the following are the strength that the initiate or the stress out. So according to them, they prepared asynchronous because it is not time bound and not place bound. So anytime that they have their internet connectivity is available, so they can review the lesson or they can download the lesson according to their time. So that is why they prepared asynchronous, looking at this strength side. And aside from that, according to them, during the interview, when they already downloaded the lessons and then by their teachers or their professor, they can review it and they can view it anytime and review it over and over. Unlike synchronous, that it is a one-time shot class session. And second, they believe that asynchronous allow them to reflect because it is not time bound and make the written responses according to their pace in and time, because we all know that every learner have individual differences and they have their own pace of learning, and they have also their different intelligences. On the other hand, the weakness of asynchronous is the absence of live interaction with their instructor. So this is the lone weakness that they identified for having a synchronous class. For blended, so the strength they identified for blended is that they believe that using both synchronous and asynchronous is the most effective for better learning and understanding. As I discussed in the previous slide, they wanted that they have a live interaction or chat with their teachers and even with their classmates. And at the same time, they wanted that their lesson is not time bound because of their poor internet connectivity, and also their pace and ability to deal with the tasks given by the teacher. So that is why they stress out that the most effective for them to learn better and understand better is combining the synchronous and asynchronous e-learning and e-teaching approach. Then they also feel comfortable in online discussion with the instructor using hybrid mode. And they also said that using the blended approach, this is the most flexible e-learning tools or e-teaching tools that is very effective for them, and they find it more convenient. Okay. So for the benefits and educational outcomes in using e-learning and e-teaching and e-learning modes, so these are the highlights that was given by the students during the survey. So according to them, it promotes sometimes on the following. So first, blended or the benefits of these tools, it can promote learner-instructor interaction. It can also promote learner-learner interaction, then learner content flexibility, learner content formality, and because of this, the online classes, it promoted their knowledge of media, using the media or any platform. So they become more technically equipped, or they learn technology because of this e-learning and e-teaching modes. And they also know or identify or determine their choice of media use. So this is for MSU Marawi. The MSU Marawi students believe that the e-teaching and e-learning modes promote their idea how to choose media. No, what particular media is most effective tools for them. But for the GH State College, they only said that it promote sometimes. And it will also promote autonomy and independence of learning, because they will not be spoon-feeded by the instructor, but they have their own way of learning. They become independent in order to pass the course. And it also promotes their study habits. Okay, so these are the benefits and educational outcomes determined by the students as they experience in these online classes. But despite of that, they encountered many challenges. So not only here in the Philippines, as I read through a lot of researches about the synchronous or the online classes. So I think almost all of the students around the world encountered challenges in the e-learning course. Number one, which is common to all, not only here in the Philippines, not only with our respondents in the survey, which is the internet connectivity. This is the most common problem among students and the faculty or the teachers as well, or instructor. There is no regular internet connectivity, or the internet connectivity is very poor and fluctuating, and there is no appropriate devices. So as I presented from the previous slide, that like the GH State College, they only use their cell phone as their device. And they have also difficulty in maintaining their budget for buying loads for their cell phone, or buying ticket for the internet, or paying for the internet or Wi-Fi. Then the time management. So they have a difficulty also uh, making their time more efficient, because sometimes if they are at home, according to them, although they have already scheduled their classes, but their parents still uh, use them to do the household chores and other tasks in the house, so they are disturbed, unlike when during face to face that they are sent to the university and stay at their dormitory. Then they have also challenges in terms of the interaction with the instructor, because not all instructor are religiously teaching their online classes. Some, or maybe many of the instructor, just send their lessons without discussing it. Because I asked some of the respondents, they said that their instructor just send the lesson, just send the module without any discussion, and they are just the one who made their self-study. So that is why they find it difficult to understand the concepts, particularly those concepts that they are not familiar with. Then sometimes they have also conflict of schedule, because there are some instructor that they are not following their online class schedule, because they have to give tasks to the students anytime as they want. So, and another thing also, they have conflict of schedule with their other tasks in the house or in their home. Then they find it also challenging to them, the technology, because not all students or even instructor, particularly those senior citizen instructor that who are not totally equipped with the latest technology that we have. So they find it difficult to handle their online classes. So they hire an assistant just to operate for the Google Classroom, to manage their Google Classroom and other activities that using technology. So technical issues and computer literacy are also their challenges encountered in their e-learning courses. So this is not only for the students, but technically speaking, this is also uh, faced by some instructor in the university or any school level, even in high school, senior high school, or in the elementary. So for self-reflection of the students as an online learners, so these are some of the excerpts in their journals. So they said that being an online learners, they feel it good and ready for more learnings and challenges. So they are positive enough. So they are optimistic despite of the challenges that they encounter, but they are still challenging themselves to take the challenge. So they did everything despite of poor internet connection as they experience. And they also said that pursuing learning, so they are still eager to pursue learning despite of struggles, difficulties with software and websites, and challenges faced in online classes. And sometimes they not feel good, and they also uncomfortable and struggling, troubled and scared, particularly during synchronous classes, when times that they cannot upload their report probably, or they cannot turn in automatically the exams, when there is brownout, or when there is disruption of the internet connectivity. So that is why they feel also anxiety of these online classes, and they are worried on the class performance in online. So they struggle a lot in e-learning, especially about the internet. And they couldn't fully understand the instructor's discussion and feel pressure every time. So this is commonly experienced by the students during synchronous class, because sometimes when the instructor delivered the lesson synchronously, then there is a disruption of the internet, then the discussion is being cut off, and the continuity of the lesson is no longer understandable to the side of the learners. Then in e-learning, sometimes other students are just copying others. So it's an assurance that there is learning. And the traditional, they also still believe that the traditional instruction courses is fast to learn by individual students than the e-learning course process. And e-learning, it needs a stable internet connection, then for them to understand what their instructor is discussing. And e-learning is a little bit more tiresome than the traditional method, and it is hard because of the internet connectivity problem. If the situation is uh, favorable to online classes, and the technology also is favorable, so I think the students feel better in online classes. So in the traditional method, the instructor-led process is much better than attending courses through online. Okay, so therefore, based on the discernments and reflections of the students, about the synchronous, asynchronous, or blended approach in e-teaching and e-learning. So these are the conclusions that being let us say being driven by those statements. So, e-learning platform highly require technological expertise and internet connectivity to effectively transmit the knowledge of the learners. E-teaching and e-learning tools require technological skills for both the teachers and the learners. Then e-teaching and e-learning mode effectiveness, be it synchronous, asynchronous, and blended, varies in accordance with the learner's capability and learning environment. So there is no really exact or perfectly teaching and e-learning methods approach to be used. So as an educator, we are flexible, innovative, and resourceful enough in order to deliver our lessons and to transmit knowledge to the learners effectively and efficiently. So for e-teaching and e-learning initiatives to succeed, educational institutions must understand the benefits and limitations of different e-learning techniques and methods and consider the learning environment of the learners. So we have to stick the idea of the constructivism and the multiple intelligences theories and other theories wherein learners should be the center of learning, or let us say learner centered environment. Thus, flexibility of e-teaching and e-learning modes must be applied together with the improvements in technology and internet connectivity. So otherwise, we cannot really successfully transmit our teaching and e-learning to become meaningful if the technology is not favorable, and of course the internet connectivity is not sustainable and let us say continuous, because it really disrupt in our online learning and online teaching as well. So I think that's all. Thank you very much for listening. So I hope that I successfully shared our situation here in the Philippines about the different platforms that we use in our online classes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Annabelle, for your presentation. And now I think we can move to our discussion session between Professor Annabelle and Professor Hung Sin Woo. So if there any question or any thought about what happened, but okay, nothing in Q&A, but I think I got some direct question for Annabelle from our committee that here you go. From all of the application used in online learning, which one is the most effective for improving the ability of the student, especially on affective and psychomotor ability?
Okay, so thank you very much for that very interesting and challenging question. So, similar with the idea of the respondents in our survey, and based on my experience as an online teachers as well, so I preferred blended approach. So, it is very important that we mix our teaching methods. So we use both synchronous and asynchronous approach. So considering the situation that sometimes we cannot really avoid that there is electrical disconnection and internet disconnection. So it is not wise as an instructor to make that an excuse for us to not proceed with our classes. So that is why as an instructor, we preferred advance our lesson both for synchronous and asynchronous one. So when there is a disruption of internet connectivity, or let us say electrical connectivity, we can still do our classes by sending the lessons through the messenger, which is asynchronous one. Then it is also very important that from time to time we have a live interaction with our students as well, so that we can also uh, know our students, no, so we can have live interaction through synchronous session. So that is why, based on the experience and even the performance of the students, which I use blended approach and a purely synchronous or asynchronous one, so I found out that the performance of my students is more favorable. So the performance of the students improve a lot when I use hybrid approach than purely synchronous or asynchronous one. So that is why I really say that hybrid approach is most effective one, or most effective tools to perform online classes. Okay.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And Professor Sinhungu, do you have any thought about this?
I think that it is quite interesting and important to assess the student satisfaction during the pandemic. And the important thing is, with the pandemic, the teachers and the professors need to improve any kind of technology abilities to strengthen their abilities in order to provide students better teaching quality as well as the course loadings. And uh, in Taiwan, when we face the pandemic, students sometimes feel lots of feel bored because they just cannot interact with the students. They also cannot directly talk to the instructors. Under such circumstances, if you try to if 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 you try to ask someone to respond a question, chances are, well, nobody is going to respond to it because a lot of students probably are sleeping, or they are playing games or their
Yes.
iPhones. And for the teachers, well, eventually they might feel dissatisfied. Probably they might just think that we are just talking to the air and nobody cares about the teaching materials and the stuff. Eventually, probably you are acting just like a machine by yourself. You
Yes.
just talk to yourself and you just think that, well, I still have 5 minutes left, so I just need to wrap things up. As soon as the clock is finished, then well, you just have a feeling of what a relief, something like that. So I just think that the topic is interesting and important.
Okay, thank you. And now I think we got uh, two questions for Professor Sinhungu.
Yes.
Okay, is there any way you can open the Q&A screen on your Zoom?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Or perhaps
Yes.
it's better for me to
Yes.
read it for
Okay.
you.
Mm-hmm. The weakness of self-report instruments, sometimes we find that score subject doesn't show the real condition of subject. Have you ever found a case like that? If yes, how did you solve it? Okay. Speaking of the Rambley's question, I just think that if you want to if if you want to verify it, the important thing is probably you just need to perform the reliability and the validity of the survey results. If the reliability is okay and the validity is also okay, then probably you can trust the survey results. However, if either one or both are failed, chances are, well, the numerical analysis are in vain. So I just think that uh, unless unless you can unless if it, unless you conduct the study by a qualitative approach, such as by interviewing the respondents. Otherwise, the only thing you can do in order to include a certain amount of respondents is to use the surveys. As long as you use the surveys, well, my suggestion is that you just need to evaluate the reliability and the validity to ensure it's all right. And the other question here is from the Sia Reef. It says that how about for engineering workers? We got the same problem related to burnout. So maybe you have some solution to face this. Okay, my suggestion is that in in reality, there are a wide variety of instruments to evaluate um, the degree of burnout for different type of staffs. Probably you can identify an appropriate instrument for a particular type of persons. And as far as I know, mass lab burnout inventory probably is more appropriate for the professionals, such as the medical staff, such as for the educators and the students. And probably you can try to find one probably called probably well probably called Cop, Copenhagen. Well, probably my pronunciation is not correct, but my suggestion is that probably you can identify the appropriate instrument. Just try to assess the well, let me see, just probably related to the engineering workers. Okay, so my parts are done.
Yeah, the two following question is for Professor Annabelle. If you may
Okay,
answer it.
yeah. Okay. So I have here two question posted. So first, from Sir Natalino Parada. What is the senior citizenship instructor reaction when they face the obstacle by using online tool as an instrument of teaching and e-learning? So to answer this question, actually, the senior citizen instructor have different reactions. Some are feeling stressed, while the other are excited because there are still senior citizens that are willing to take challenges and they are willing to learn, although they have already at their age at mostly at the retirement stage. So those instructor that are willing to learn, they hired their tutor, and they are very open-minded, and they let their tutor to teach them how to manipulate the technology, how to manipulate their online classes until such time that they learn from it. But some other citizen instructor trying to file early retirement because of they have also they also fear that the facing the technology that they are not familiar with might give them more stressful life. So that's it. They have different reaction actually. Some of them take it negatively, some of them take it positively and learn from it. Okay. Then she has also a follow-up question. If okay, so this is not the other. We have from Izzuddin Sharif.
Sharif.
Yeah. So among disasters, we sometimes get some challenges. As your experience, what is the most benefits that we get from pandemic in education? So actually, in all disasters, not all disadvantages that we have, but we really learn a lot, and we learn things from it. So the best or the most benefit that we get from the pandemic, or let me speak for our country in the Philippines. So we are forced. Actually, if I'm going to read all the different technological innovation in education, we have the education 4.0, education 5.0. Honestly speaking, here in our country in the Philippines, I don't know if we are still in education 2.0. But because of the pandemic, the government are obliged to give finance for us to be more engaged in technology, and we are more on let us say innovating our education using the technology that we have, and learning from it, and maybe someday we can cope up and be able to have the so-called education 5.0. So we are still trying to keep abreast with the modern technology that is very beneficial in transmitting the knowledge to our students. And even because of the pandemic, we, the faculty or the instructor as well, are trying our best to engage more in technology, and we also learn from technology and make different platforms for us to continue engaging our profession, which is teaching the students. So that is the best benefit that we get from pandemic in the education sector. So we are obliged to pursue and to learn and more technologically advanced in dealing with our educational let us say journey, no, educational journey, which is coupled with technological innovations that we have today. Okay, so I is there
Yeah.
another question. Have you ever compared the effectiveness of e-teaching and traditional teaching for uh, students learning achievement? So honestly, I was not able to compare as of this moment about the effectiveness of e-teaching and traditional teaching, because this year the Philippine government will start the full blast face-to-face classes by January. So this is a very interesting question that probably I will also conduct a survey on this, as long as that our face-to-face classes will resume by January. And maybe we can have a collaborative research comparing this effectiveness, which is more effective, the e-teaching or the traditional one. Okay, so I think no more questions. So do I answer all the questions well?
Yes, I think so. That's all the question. Is there anything else, or you may raise your hand if you really want to. You may raise your hand and we will choose. Anyone else?
Okay, I would by the way, I would like to take this opportunity to contact with Sir M. Ramel. So probably the question that you raised this moment is a very good research endeavor. So I am very um, let us say willing, if you want to, that we can have a collaborative research on this Philippines and your country about the effectiveness, or which is more effective, the e-teaching or the traditional one.
Yeah. Okay. If I think, do we have still a time, perhaps, from the committee? Do we still have a time? Y- Okay, perhaps. Oh, please, Professor Husin Wu, yeah,
Yes.
and Professor Annabelle, if you may give us some closing statement because finally the time is up for both of you. So please give us some closing statement.
Okay, Sir Wu, you may give first a
Okay.
closing statement.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank thank all the participants to have the opportunity to engage this international conference. And I think that f- uh, from the presentation from Professor Annabelle, I also learned that lot about the current scenario during the pandemic in the Philippines. And probably as she suggested, if someone is interested, probably we can try to conduct a cross-national study about the students' satisfaction
Yes.
before and after the pandemic. So I just think that if someone is interested, uh, we can conduct such kind of international study. Thanks a lot.
Yes. Okay, so that is a very good motivation coming from Sir Sin Hong Woo. So we can that is a very good research study, and it is a very helpful also to our teachers and students and any educational sector. So at this point in time, I would like to express my gratitude and congratulations to the organizer of this event. Thank you very much for having me here. It is a nice event, nice conference, sharing ideas among others across the globe. So my concluding statement is that there is no really exact or effective teaching tools, a single not single effective tool. So as an educators, we should have different teaching strategies in order to meet the individual differences of our students, and we should let us say, resourceful and innovative enough to design authentic learning materials, authentic teaching strategy that is suited to our individual learners, because there is no learners that have similar preference, so they have their own individual differences. So for us to transmit the knowledge effectively and let our students understand the lesson effectively. So as an instructor, we have to design our learning materials, our teaching strategies that will suited to the needs and capability and differences of our learners. So again, the key word for being an instructor is we should be innovative and resourceful enough. And we have to understand and assess the different individual differences and needs of our learners. So congratulations to the organizer of this event. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Wu and Professor Annabelle, for your time and for the moment you share with us. And now we can continue to our third speaker from Malaysia,
Okay.
Professor Madya, Dr. Muhammad Asri bin Muhammad Nur. If I'm not mistaken to read it, is that correct?
Yes, it's correct. It's correct.
Okay, perhaps you may prepare your presentation while I'm gonna read some of your biography.
Thank you, Madi.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Professor Madya, is a lecturer from the Faculty of Management and Economics from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris Tanjung Maling, Perak, Malaysia. And he, in 2013, he got his Doctor of Education in Management from Bristol University. And in 2002, he got his Sarjana Science from for Pengurusan Pendidikan from University Utara Malaysia. And in 1993, he got his Sarjana Muda Pendidikan or Kepujian Bahasa Inggris sebagai bahasa kedua. English for the second language from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. He also have some numerous number of research, 100 of it, I think. So it won't be, and it will be impossible for me to read it. So I think, Professor, you may just start your presentation.
Thank you, Madi. Can you hear me?
Yes,
All right.
clearly.
Okay. Let me. Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay. Hang on, yeah.
Yes, you may begin.
Yeah. Just give me a moment. Yeah, I'm just checking.
Okay. Everything looks good.
Okay. Just give me a moment. Yeah. 1 second. 1 second. One second.
Yeah. Take your time. Or do you need some help to share your PowerPoint?
I think I'm okay. I'm just
Okay. Yeah.
I just need to set this up so that I can hang on,
No
yeah.
worries.
Okay. Right, it should be okay. Okay, is there, yeah?
Okay.
The slides are
Here
there?
you are. Yeah.
All right, okay, good. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everybody. You know, Monday, today is the general election in Malaysia.
In Malaysia.
Yeah,
Okay.
Pemilu. Yeah, Pemilu.
Pemilu, yeah, correct. Pemilu.
So today is the general election, the 15th general election in Malaysia.
Okay.
And we are going to elect the new government today, but inshallah I'll be going to the polling station after this presentation.
Okay. Okay, Professor. Yeah.
But first of all, I just would like to say thank you to the organizer for inviting me to speak at this conference. I'm very honored to be contacted by Prof. Bambang regarding this conference, yeah, the International Conference on Educational Management and Technology. Of course, I am also honored to hear our previous speakers talking. I've learned a lot from both of our professors, Professor Wu and also Professor Annabelle. So it's very educating for me as well. So just let me introduce myself a bit. I am Muhammad Asri Muhammad Noor. I'm currently working at University Pendidikan Sultan Idris or Sultan Idris Education University in Malaysia. I'm also the Dean of the Faculty of Management and Economics. So my areas of expertise is in educational management and also education policy and leadership. So let me start by talking a bit about what we are going to cover today. Yeah? There are a few things that that we will be talking about today. First of all, let me just give you the context, the context of the situation in Malaysia, so that you know, we can understand what's going on you know, in Malaysia during the pandemic itself. I think something, hang on, something went wrong. Sorry, something went wrong. Hang on, yeah.
Perhaps you just accidentally close the.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's fine. Reshare it. No problem.
What happened? Okay, I think I'm back. Okay.
Yes, there is it.
I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
Okay. So let me just share with you what went on during the pandemic in Malaysia when it started in 2020. Yeah. Now we know that of course the whole world witnessed a very quick spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, yeah, in 2020. Of course, we know that it possibly began originated from China, from very small number of cases. It became a huge infection, and then it led to a full-fledged pandemic, which affected everybody. And consequently, this particular pandemic caused concern by the fact that the virus was not contained in China, but was spreading globally, and hence there was this term physical distancing. Yeah, we were introduced with the concept of physical distancing, where we have to distance ourselves from other people. And because of that, we had to introduce online interaction, if we remember, yeah, online interaction, and it became a focus of everybody as a way of boosting our social involvement in a virtual way. So that was the beginning of online meetings and online classes and so on and so forth. But just to share with you what was going on in Malaysia at that time, when the pandemic started, yeah. In the afternoon of the 24th of February 2020, the Prime Minister of Malaysia at that time, Mahathir Mohamad, had just resigned. You know? I just want to give you the context of what we were facing, yeah, in Malaysia when we were faced by this pandemic. And on March the 1st, Malaysia saw the swearing in of a new Prime Minister. And on the 9th of March, the new Prime Minister announced 31 new ministers. And for the first time in the history of Malaysia, we didn't have a deputy prime minister. And also the Ministry of Education was split into two, the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Higher Education. So that was what was happening at that time. And then on the 25th of January 2020, Malaysia detected the first confirmed case of COVID-19. And between 25th January to 15 February 2020, a further 22 cases were identified. And after 11 days of 0 cases, on 11 March, Malaysia experienced the largest cluster linked to a religious gathering mass, in Malaysia. And in order for us to flatten the curve of this pandemic, the government finally decided that we have to go for lockdown. Yeah? Movement control order beginning 18 March 2020 until 10 June 2020, when the government decided that we are going to move into recovery movement control order. As it stands today, Malaysia has recorded a total of close to 4 million cases, with more than 36,000 deaths related to COVID-19. And of course, we know that the battle is still on. It is still not over. So that was the situation in Malaysia when the pandemic started. What I'm trying to say is the pandemic came in. The political situation was also in a chaos at that time. So everybody was expecting that things were not going to be okay. Yeah. So some thought that with the newly appointed government ministers, Malaysia will be struggling, yeah, in how to manage education during the pandemic. But the fact is on the contrary. Maybe because at that time, due to the fact that from the beginning, the government has made sure that the information, okay, the information regarding the pandemic should only be relayed by the Prime Minister, just by one person, and only the senior Minister of Security can talk about it, and only the Ministry of Health should be talking about anything to do with the pandemic. So perhaps that was the reason why things were managed quite smoothly. And furthermore, all the actions and all of the guidelines and all of the SOPs had to be approved by the National Security Council or the NSC at that moment. And they somehow managed to minimize confusion, yeah, among the public. Although, like I said, at the earlier stage, things were a bit chaotic at that time. Now, regarding education, how did we in Malaysia at that time manage education sector during the pandemic? So in order to do this, from 18 March 2020, all kindergartens, all government schools, all private schools, including daily schools, boarding schools, international schools, tahfiz centers, and other educational institutions were closed. And similarly, all the public and private higher education institutions were also closed. However, that was the time, like many other countries all over the world, close to 200 countries all over the world, this was the time where we introduced online classes. Yeah? And at that time, we introduced online classes using the Google platform or the Google Classroom. It is interesting that Malaysia had introduced a Google Classroom platform since 2017. 2017, Malaysia had introduced Google Classroom platform. However, from the study that we carried out, we noticed that the usage of Google Classroom from 2017 to 2019 was very low. It's less than 10% teachers using Google platform, even though this has been given, these facilities have been given to all schools, to all teachers. But with the pandemic coming in 2020, we saw the increase in terms of percentage of course, in terms of percentage of teachers using this platform. But the good thing about this is that because it was introduced much earlier, even before the pandemic, so teachers found it quite easy during the transition from the physical classroom to an online classroom. So this is very, very interesting, because the government had spent quite a huge number, a huge amount of money, on the infrastructure in the past 3 years before the pandemic. So this proves that this became very useful during the pandemic itself. However, of course, there were many problems, many issues, even though we were using this platform during the pandemic. There were a lot of issues that we faced, because students, some students do not have access to the internet, like what Professor Annabella said just now. Malaysia also shared the same issue, like what was faced by the Philippines. A lot of students did not have access to the internet. A lot of students did not have access to computers. A lot of students did not have access to suitable gadgets to allow them to follow the class online. And according to statistical data provided by the Ministry of Education, based on a study of 900,000 students at that time, it was found that between 5% to 9% student, only 5% to 9% students own either a computer, laptop, or tablet. Only 5% to 9% students own computer, laptop, or tablet. And in a household that only has one computer, okay, if the family has only one computer, it was quite a challenge for the students to follow online classes if there are more than one student in the household. All right, so meaning they would have to take turns in using the computers or the gadgets or the phones and so forth. Similarly, at the university level, some students face the same challenge. For example, especially students who are living in Borneo, in Sabah, and also in Sarawak, and other rural, remote areas in Malaysia, for example. They also face the same challenge, where they could not get access to the internet, they could not get access to computer in order for them to follow classes online. So, of course, just like what was carried out in the Philippines, in Malaysia, for example, in the university itself, the Sultan Idris Education University itself, for example, we also had to use conventional method, where we had to send hard copy study materials to these students to assist them, so that they can continue with the study. Governments, and as well as institutions of higher education, as well as schools, also took the initiative to provide computers, laptops to some students who needed to use this because they do not have one. So those were the things that were happening during the pandemic. So, so what actually happened after the pandemic now at this particular moment because of the pandemic? So what actually has changed since the pandemic? We noticed that in the case of Malaysia, for example, we noticed that teacher workload has changed, as well as student learning has changed. Although teacher workload issue is nothing new, this has been existing for the past 15, 20 years. Many surveys have been done, and we have found that a lot of teachers have said that their workload is very high. So this is not something new. But we noticed that with the pandemic coming in 2020 and what is happening now, we noticed that there is even an increase in teachers' workload. And the teachers' workload here does not only talk about teaching, because in the context of Malaysia, for example, it covers across the sector, from bus drivers, school bus drivers, to janitors and everybody else who are involved in the education sector have given us the feedback that their workload has increased. A lot of people had to chip in, had to roll up their sleeves and had to chip in to help solve the situation even until now. For example, to continue with teaching and learning in school today in Malaysia, we have allowed our students to go back to school. Students are allowed to go back to universities for face-to-face classroom. But we know that the COVID-19 has left the pandemic phase and it is now within the community. So there are things that we have to do when students are infected by COVID-19, when they are in schools or when they are in universities. We need to disinfect school materials. We need to do a lot of cleaning every day. So all these somehow have affected teachers and other staff workers' workload, according to our survey in Malaysia. Yeah, and educators are constantly worried about the well-being of themselves, the well-being of the teachers, as well as the well-being of their students. Now, some students seem to disappear altogether during the classes, and I would like to add to what Prof Wu was saying just now regarding challenges that we face when we were doing online classes, where students simply joined the online class but was not available. In fact, they would switch off their camera and they would be somewhere else. So these challenges still exist today in the case of Malaysia. For example, in the higher education in Malaysia, through this transition period, we know that there are still students who are not able to return back to the university, and some of them are given special permission to continue their classes online. And we still face the same issue like what we were facing when we were in the COVID-19 pandemic. So these are problems that we are facing, and these are the things that have changed in terms of teacher workload. Furthermore, student learning has also changed. Yeah, of course, during the pandemic, we saw a lot of students had to study online, and we had to prepare materials, packets of materials, so that we can send to students for those who do not have internet access. Now, fast forward to after the pandemic to the current situation, we notice that, of course, there are more students who have access to internet, who have access to technology, who have access to computer today. But the challenge still remain, where they would still face certain issues like stability of connection. They still face issue of more than one student in a household, which will not allow them to be online at the same time, and so on and so forth. So all of these have actually changed the way we look at education after the pandemic. And of course, there are many other issues that we are facing. There are many other challenges that we are facing. There are many other changes that are taking place after the pandemic. So, having said about all these issues, all these changes, all these challenges, what do we do about it? How can we better navigate this changing education landscape? Because the education landscape has changed. It has changed. We cannot deny the fact that it has changed. So what do we do about it? How do we navigate the changing landscape of education? Now, this maybe are the four main things that we need to address if we want to be able to successfully navigate the changing landscape of our education. Of course, the most important thing, we noticed that during the pandemic, school closures, like I said earlier, school closures have intensified the use of digital technology, right? We noticed that, and through remote teaching. And while like I said earlier, while most teachers are quite familiar with the Google Classroom platform, there are also others who may use other ways of delivering the lessons. And what I'm trying to say is Google Classroom platform is not the only platform that we can use to deliver our lessons. So meaning teachers need to be supported. Okay, teachers need to be supported so that they can deliver their lessons well. Now, the Ministry of Education, the State Education Department in Malaysia, the district education officers in Malaysia, and of course, the school and school leaders have always encouraged teachers to learn new technologies. They have always encouraged teachers to go and attend various workshops and webinars. And it is very encouraging to see that a lot of teachers, and including students, are learning new skills on how to use technology. So this is something that is very important. And we believe that in order to further ensure that the delivery of lessons could be successful, all these teachers need to be supported. Supported in terms of training, supported in terms of providing necessary counseling, supported in terms of maintaining the health of the teachers. Now, the next thing that we need to understand is the fact that teacher development is also important. Now, when we talk about teacher development, we are not only talking about training teachers in terms of technological skills, but of course, we are talking also about training teachers in terms of soft skills. Because we have, in the context of Malaysia, and especially in the context of the Sultan Idris Education University, we also noticed that with the use of technology, there is somehow a detach in terms of humanity aspect, where we are so engaged with technology and computer that we somehow forgot about the soft skills, the humanity aspect, the way that we should connect with each other as human beings. So this also needs to be inculcated. This also needs to be developed within our teachers. The next thing that we should also consider in navigating this challenging landscape of education today, of course, would be in preparing the infrastructure for distance learning. Of course, in the case of Malaysia, we believe that we have achieved so much in certain aspects and in certain areas, but there are still areas where the infrastructure for distance learning is still needs to be improved. And when we talk about infrastructure for distance learning, we are not simply only talking about the system. we are not simply talking about the technology or the access or the connectivity, but we are also talking about the materials that we need to prepare in order for us to ensure that distance learning can be carried out successfully, because it looks like people are very comfortable with distance learning. People are very comfortable with online learning. People are very comfortable with blended learning. So there is a need for us to provide better infrastructure for distance learning. And the next important thing that we need to consider would be technology. Now, we know that, like Prof. Annabella said just now, which is also similar to Malaysia, because of the pandemic, governments all over the world invest a lot on technology. You know, the governments invest a lot in technology so that we can help students to learn through technology, and so that we can help teachers to deliver lessons through technology. And it is undeniable that the blended learning, hybrid learning, and technology is very important. And it will be here, it will stay forever. But we need to be aware of some of other issues that come together with the concept of technology. While governments may invest in technological innovations, the investment in technology may not necessarily increase learning effectiveness. You know? Or we cannot say that the absence of investment in technology will necessarily impede learning from happening. Of course, although the initial thought about by any investor, if you want to invest in technology, is that we acquire precisely the kind of technology that will help us support learning. That is the main concept that always come to our mind when we want to invest in technology. But we need to look at whether the investment on technology will really impact on education. Therefore, it is suggested that when we want to invest on technology, we should also look at a learning and technology framework, for example, whereby whenever we want to invest in learning and technology, in technology for the purpose of learning, we should do a measurement or a survey whereby we can use, for example, a technology performance questionnaire. And from that, we can gauge whether the technology that we are going to invest on will have any direct change on learning. So this is something that governments, school leaders will have to consider before they make any decision on investing on technology. So these are some of the things that we need to consider when we want to navigate the changing education landscape that is taking place at the moment. So as a closing remark, I would say that COVID-19 has, of course, changed the social landscape of many countries in the world, and include the area of education. We are now in the so-called new normal. Yeah, we are in the new normal, the so-called new normal. And this requires very strong leadership from the government right down to the community. And this new normal is about change. The new normal that we are facing is actually about change. It's talking about change. And leading educational change, both at the macro and the micro level, we know is always very challenging. Now, of course, we can see that so far, the governments all over the world have dealt with the pandemic head on. Yeah, but we need to be able to move forward by looking at what needs to be done. How do we prepare our nation? How do we prepare our teachers and our students to make sure that we will be able to successfully deliver our lessons after, in the post-pandemic era, in the so-called new normal. So I think that's it from me, Made. I hope I've shared something valuable from Malaysian experience for everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor. For the last speaker, I'm gonna ask if Professor Ahmad Supriyanto, have you joined us? We don't hear you yet.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening, Professor Dr.
Yeah,
Ahmad
good evening.
Supriyanto from Universitas Negeri Malang, Indonesia. Okay, you may
Yeah.
prepare
Yeah.
your PowerPoint and okay, actually, I don't find yet your CV from Professor Ahmad Supriyanto, but as I search in Google Scholar, that it states that Professor Ahmad Supriyanto from Management of Education, Universitas Negeri Malang, Indonesia, and for the last, he got 17 article indexed by Scopus and 218 article indexed by Google Scholar. I'm sorry, I cannot give you more of his CV because, yeah, I don't get any from the CV, but here you are, Professor Ahmad Supriyanto, MSc. If you may start.
Thank you very much, moderator. Mas Made ya.
Yes.
Oke, Mas Made. I know your father is Pak Nyoman Degan. Oke. Halo, Pak Muhammad Asri, Ibu Annabeli, and Professor Wu.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. Yeah. Based on your presentation.
Mana ko? Last speaker na ni. Pwede ram ni yan.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Based on your presentation before, may I conclude that our topic is going to online service, maybe online service quality. It related with my topic. Yeah. Thank you for your input. So this time we can discuss about online service quality, customer satisfaction, and loyalty at universities. Universities in India is PTNBH ya. Yes, scope this topic. We start from introduction and then service quality, customer satisfaction, and customer loyalty. And in this time, if of course I saw the results about online service quality, customer satisfaction, and customer loyalty. And the last my presentation, I give you recommendation. As introduction, organization urgency to maintain quality is inseparable from the need for the existence and sustainability of the organization itself. Quality is always related to the organization ability to meet the expectation and need of customer in various organizations, like in education, especially in higher education. In organization, there are internal and external customers play an important role in mapping the quality of educational organization. And improving educational organization quality is achieved by meeting customers' needs, monitoring the level of satisfaction, and of course, loyalty with the services provided, and evaluating the level of service need from customer perspective. Yeah, I think you agree with me. The interaction between educational organization and customer today must switch to an online system. It's supported by Abusal Kose Popel. There is no more face-to-face meeting to convey aspiration, need criticism on session for reason, like this time in international conference. And then, in terms of organization that can no longer provide services directly, both must adapt to stay in a reciprocal relationship that will impact the organization quality and existence. One of effort made by universities is to continue to improve their quality for customer satisfaction and loyalty. Yes, in higher education adaptation, change automatically leads to online-based services, from administrative assistant to learning services. The scope of universities that have a large number of customers, of course, will take time to move along with change, which will ultimately have an impact on change in the overall higher education service system. This rapid change in the research was staged to have an impact on the quality of education received by customer, especially students. Yeah, this research is continuation of previously research, which state that service quality affect customer satisfaction and customer loyalty in banking environment. This research before in banking, and in this year, we take rare in higher education. The development of service quality variable continues to be carried into online service quality by relating to customer satisfaction and customer loyalty, then focusing on research location in university with management autonomy. In Indonesia, you can call PTNBH, University PTNBH. I think all participants know in Indonesia is PTNBH, like Universitas Negeri Malang. Yeah. Based on explanation before, we make simple diagram. There is service quality, customer satisfaction, and loyalty are essential component for organization. Based on total quality management perspective, organization must focus on customer. And you know, from traditional service quality, offline service, go to modern online service. There are many changes. All activities, of course, go to achieve the goal. Offline service characteristic and offline and online service characteristic. I think you agree with me too. Offline services is of course need people in case. And then use manual system, slow operation, direct services. And it categorized as traditional organization. Online service characteristic paperless in case. Of course, we use the digital system, fast operation, non-direct services, and we can classification in modern organization. Yes, it described from offline to online services. What is online service quality? Online service quality is defined as the quality of the organization services to customer in which online services at university. It is of course in PTN we have contact in Indonesia. The customer is a student. And then what is customer satisfaction? Customer satisfaction is described about expectation of customer to services and perceive of customer based on an expectation and of course experiences. And the last, customer must be perceive the value of services. Next, loyalty, customer loyalty. Customer loyalty like a magnet, Customer, of course, loyal to organization, and customers retention to use product or services, and they feel a part of an organization, and of course, customer support of organization in future growth. Yeah. Online service quality, customer satisfaction, and customer loyalty parameter. You can see maybe you can call me to see check the questionnaire. Yeah. The aspect of online service quality. You can see it. Yeah. Online service quality aspect is like easy of navigation, information quality, web design, privacy, security, leadership, facilities availability, competitive benchmarking tool, tactical resource, public relation, compensation, resource allocation guide. All aspect is online service quality. And then the variable of customer satisfaction as parameter customer attitude, customer happiness, customer perceive, tangibility, reliability, responsiveness, assurance, and empathy. And the aspect of customers loyalty, like commitment, trust, university reputation, cognitive loyalty, affective loyalty, cognitive loyalty, action loyalty. Yeah. Based on literature review and based on research previous, we can make a theoretical model, the relationship of online service quality, customer service satisfaction, and customer loyalty. It's supported by research before. Also, online service quality, of course, impact to customer satisfaction and also customer satisfaction effect to customer loyalty. But the problem is online service quality and customer loyalty relationship. There are positive and negative relationship. So it is the gap of this research. So in the next research, we try to test about this gap, and of course, we prepare about this answer. So this my research. And support Wijaya, Karespa, Huma. However, a lot of you have studied that loyalty is heavily influenced by service quality, but through customer satisfaction variable. There is still many different or uncertainty in the relationship between the variable, especially the relationship service quality and customer loyalty. Based on this model, the testing with different respondents and fit is necessary. The result of this test can answer the problem of the unclear relationship between the variable. Yeah, our research, me and team, the research is effect on line service quality, on customer satisfaction, and loyalty at usually with state legal entities. PTNBH, perguruan tinggi negeri badan hukum yang ada di Indonesia. Yes, the aim research is to determine the effect of online service quality on customer satisfaction and loyalty in state university with legal entities. Yeah. And then research methods. We use survey type quantitative approach. The instrument use questionnaire that has met the validity and reliability requirement. The data collection was carried for around 3 months in 2022. The respondent is 915 well customer. They are students from 16 state universities in Indonesia. And the data were analyzed using the SAM with SPSS and AMOS application form. Let's we see the research result. Online service quality in 16 universities can conclude that most respondents answer agree or good that online service quality is good. You can see that graphic frequency is indicate agree good. And then customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction in 16 university, it can be concluded too that most respondents answer customer satisfaction agree or good. And customer loyalty indicate the same answer that it can be concluded that most respondents agree and of course good. Yeah. It is based on descriptive analysis. And the last analysis with SAM and with SPSS and SAM with AMOS, that indicate that you can see the figure. Online service quality to customer satisfaction a significant effect. The value is sorry. Okay, 0.92, and satisfaction to loyalty is 0.80. But you can see online service quality to loyalty is very, very little, very, very small. It indicates there is no effect, there is no significant effect from online service quality to customer loyalty. Yeah, online service quality has an effect. Is the significant effect to customer satisfaction, and customer satisfaction has effect to loyalty and significant too. But on online service quality, its effect very, very low, very, very little, very small, just 0.07 to loyalty. It indicates no significant effect. Yes. Based on that research, online service quality has a direct and consequential effect on customer satisfaction with regression 0.92. And this online service quality has a negligible impact on customer loyalty with regression coefficient just 0.07. And then the effect of online service index on customer loyalty was detected with a regression coefficient 0.73, and customer satisfaction has a powerful and direct effect on customer loyalty with a customer regression coefficient of 10 is 0.18. It's this result based on my analysis. As part of a discussion of this result, we can say that discuss answer in particular that online service quality has no effect on customer loyalty. The research reject the result of previous studies which state that service quality affect customer loyalty. And the results of this research indicate that reinforced previously research that loyalty is heavily increased by service quality through customer satisfaction. In the last time, these studies indicate a significant effect of online service quality on university customer satisfaction and loyalty. However, there is no effect of online service quality on customer loyalty. And the quality of online service provided had the most impressive impact on their level of satisfaction. Based of this satisfaction ultimately form good customer loyalty to the organization in the long time. The quality of online service provided had the most impressive influence on their level of satisfaction. Yes, it is just repeat. Excuse me. What the recommendation based on this research? Universities must improve online service quality. For what? to increase customer satisfaction on, of course, the loyalty. University stakeholders must focus on primary customer need in the future. Remember, it is relevant with total quality management perspective. Yeah, the customer is the king, and then leader must integrate all resources to build quality service, customer satisfaction, and customer loyalty for long time. Because all research is model to improve organization like PTNBH University. Thank you. I think this topic, Mas Made, and it is enough for me. And I give you
Thank you.
to regulate next discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Supriyatna, for your presentation. And now we will continue to our discussion. Is there any question or any thought from all the audience or viewer for the both speaker? And yes, I think we have some question in the Q&A chat tab. Question to Prof. Noor, I believe. If you may open your Q&A tab.
Yes, Mas Madi, I can see the question. So the first question is from Izzuddin. Yeah?
Izzuddin.
Based on your observations, what are the negative sides of the pandemic that can be seen from the habits of students or educators until now? Okay, this is a very interesting question, and in fact very relevant question. I have to echo what Prof. Annabelle and I think Prof. Wu mentioned earlier regarding some of the side effects or negative effects of what's going on due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, we have passive learners during the pandemic, and it is we can also see it now, even now, because we are in the transition period. Passive learning, like Prof. Wu said, yeah, where students, if you have online class and you try ask questions to students, you will get almost zero answer, almost zero response, and most of the time, students, like I said, students from our experience, we had to enforce certain rules, like you must switch on your camera in order for us to make sure that students are there, actively listening. But of course, there are going into technology now. There are applications that can be used to identify students who are not active. For example, based on our experience at the university, we are now developing a classroom. We call it the window of the world classroom, whereby when we use the internet platform classroom, the online learning, the system will be able to identify whether any particular students are not paying attention, for example, and the system will immediately notify the lecturer, telling us which student is not, it looks like not paying attention. So they're using AI they're using artificial intelligence to read students' facial expression and things like that, to identify whether students are passive, students are not listening, students are losing attention, and things like that, to inform the lecturer. So the point is, to me, and based on our experience, the biggest issue is, of course, the biggest negative side is, of course, being passive learner. That's one thing. The second thing regarding educators, for example, I do agree that this is related to one question asked earlier to Prof. Annabelle regarding response by senior citizen lecturer or senior lecturers on the use of online learning. We have the same issue whereby some educators or some lecturers are not well prepared to carry out classes online, so they are underprepared, and in fact, some just just give up altogether. They want to go back to what we used to practice previously before COVID-19, which is physical, meeting face to face and things like that. So that, I think, would be the main issue regarding or the negative side of the pandemic that can be seen from the habits of students and educators until now. So that's the first question. Mas Made, if I can continue with the second question.
Yeah,
I think,
of course.
Yeah, you can see there's another question.
Yeah.
Prof. Muhammad Noor, thank you. Okay, how was the quality of educational development in Malaysia at the end of the COVID-19 pandemic compared to the one before the pandemic? And then because, okay, let's go to the first question, the first part of the question. This is a very interesting question because we are also puzzled in Malaysia. We are also puzzled by the outcome. For example, we realized that it may sound a bit strange and intriguing and requires a lot of analysis, I think, research and analysis. We discovered that a lot of our students, I'm talking about public examination, yeah? Because in Malaysia, we still have public examination. The performance of students in public examination at the end of 2021, after a pandemic, is somehow better than the performance of students before the pandemic. Now, that is quite strange, actually. When we look at, of course, we are still analyzing the data. What's going on? Is it because the questions are different, made in a different way, or students are very comfortable, or because the way we test them was different because it was online? So that is something that we need to properly analyze before we can come to a conclusion. But I would say that based on some of the results of exams, we can say that things are improving, things are getting better in terms of students' performance. Yeah? I'm talking about student performance. In terms of education quality, in terms of quality of educational development, if we are talking about development in terms of finance, development in terms of infrastructure, yes, of course. Again, I have to echo what Prof. Annabelle said. We can see that government has increased its allocation to education, its allocation to infrastructure of education. Although, like usual, the annual budget, in the annual budget for Malaysia, education is always the biggest portion. But we can see that a lot has been spent on development of educational facilities, for example. So we can see there is an increase in terms of quality in that sense. The second part of the question, what can be suggested so that we can foster quality of educational development in this new normal era? I think for this particular question, I would like to share my thoughts about what I presented, I think 2 years ago at the height of the pandemic, on how we should respond to the pandemic from the perspective of educational leaders. I think the biggest issue that we need to understand is educational leaders should develop a shared understanding, because you see, when we are dealing with the pandemic and what happens after the pandemic, we are actually talking about change management. So it is very important that educational leaders, whether at the top level, at the governmental level, or at the school level, or at the district and state level, it is very important that they develop a shared understanding of what change actually means to them. We are talking about, when we talk about the real meaning of change, we are talking about especially the what of change and the how of change. If we really want to help ensure that there is a quality in terms of educational development, so people who are involved in the education sector needs to know what change are we talking about and how the change can be done. So in the micro level, in the micro level educational leaders, for example, educational leaders at the micro level must be able to look at what are the issues that need to be confronted at the local level, at the local context, meaning at the school level, because you cannot have something, a strategy that, you know, a one size fits all strategy. We cannot have that. We have to look at what is being confronted at the local level. So similarly, at the top level, we cannot come up with a strategy that that has the element of one size fits all. We need to allow our educational leaders to choose, to pick, to select the best strategies that would fit into their own level. So I think to do this, we need to, all educational leaders, should address the 3 R's, the relevance, readiness, and resources. Meaning, in the next few years, we need to look at the change that we want to implement, whether they are relevant or not at that particular institution or school or level, whether the change is relevant or not. And number 2, whether everybody involved are ready for the change that we want to implement. Okay, so the first R is relevance, whether the change is relevant. The second R is readiness, whether everybody that will be involved in that change is ready or not. If they are not ready, then we have to prepare them to make sure that they are ready. And of course, the third R is referring to resources. You know, sometimes you want to make change, quality change, but we don't have enough resources. We don't have the resources to ensure that that particular change can take place. So I think my advice or my suggestion, if we are talking about how we can help to ensure that our education development can take place in this new normal, we leaders need to refer to the 3 R: relevance, readiness, and resources. I think that's my take on this, Mr. Ramli. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And for the next question, I think is for Prof. Supriyanto.
Yeah, thank you. Izzuddin Sarif. I think he is my student. Yeah. Izzuddin Sarif. Yeah. Thank you for your question. Yeah. Based on your experience as a service provider, which one is prefer loyal customer or new customer? How do we treat loyal customer? Yeah. I want to answer your question based on process. The first is, of course, new customer. Yeah, because new customer is one of model, yeah, for every organization. If we thought customer, organization will die in the next year. And then new customer, if join, organization must be minded, might be give customer satisfaction with the best service quality. With customer satisfaction, so customer more loyal in the next. If you want to choose, the first is new customer and then customer loyalty. How do we treat loyal customer? Of course, based on this research, indicate their customer satisfaction, its impact is very, very significant. So, organization and of course stakeholders is in organization always continuous improvement, customer service quality, and of course service quality. Thank you, Isudin Sarif.
Okay,
In the
perhaps you can continue to
Yeah,
the second question.
Yeah. Pak Ramli, I
Yeah.
think this my friend in sport in faculty. Based on your research, online service quality has direct on customer satisfaction, but negligible effect on customer loyalty. What does it mean, and what implication for the universal leader? Yes, thank you, Mr. Ramli. Yeah, this research is okay. Is indicate that service quality has impact very, very good to customer satisfaction. Why about customer loyalty? It indicates that customer loyalty can improve just based on customer satisfaction and service quality, but not with service quality to customer loyalty. I think that is caused by touch ya, sentuhan ya, touch interaction between internal customer is staff and member of organization. If they can serve the best service, I think can impact to customer loyalty. So must be through customer satisfaction. Yeah, what implication for the universal leader? Of course, the universal leader must be attention, must be improve the service quality in all unit, in all aspect. Everybody can service the best service, and its impact to customer satisfaction. If customer satisfaction is good, of course, the customer is improve the customer loyalty in the future. So the organization in future, like PTNBH leaders, as rector and staff, must be focused on customer satisfaction based on service quality and of course customer loyalty in the next. Based on this research, indicate that customer satisfaction and customer loyalty is very, very important to improve the quality of organization index. Like higher education, like in higher education, include PTNBH in Indonesia. I think enough from.
Okay, thank you, Professor Suprianto, for your answer. And I think we have one more time to answer one question, I think, for Professor Noor. I think you may choose one, just one, Professor Noor.
Okay. Okay. I think I'll just give one answer that covers everything, if that's okay. Yeah. Right. I'm going to try and cover both questions from Aminullah and also Natalino. Yeah. I need to refer back to the 3R concept that I introduced at just now, relevance, readiness, and resources. When it comes to, okay, we are talking about introducing new system or new regulation or new laws or new rules or whatever that we want to introduce. So that is part of change that we want to impart to the society. Of course, how the society would accept that particular change will depend mainly to the understanding of the meaning of that change. Why that change has to be made. What is the change about? How will the change take place? So if we are able as a government, if we are able to address these issues, if we are able to make people understand this, I think the acceptance level will be higher compared to something that people do not understand. In some literature, a lot of literature argues the fact, we used to say that teacher resists change. We used to say that. And a lot of literature argues that teachers do not resist change. Teachers resist the unknown. They want to change, but they don't know what change you're talking about. So suddenly you come in and tell them, okay, we need to change this, but they don't know what you're talking about. Change this in what sense? So they want more information. They need to understand better about the change before they can embark into change. But people will immediately say that teachers resist change, when teachers actually do not resist change. They resist the unknown. Teachers being like all of us, like every human being, you will resist things that you do not know yet. Once you know about it, you will not, and you see that there is benefit, there's good thing in it, so people will accept change. So similarly, if you're talking about the function of teacher, when, let's say, one day technology dominates the process of learning, this is also about change. But in answering this question, I have to take the middle ground. I have to take the middle ground, because we know that inevitably technology will come in. We cannot stop that. But we cannot say that this technology will replace teacher. Now let's look at our daily life. Everybody is using technology. If we have kids, if we have children at home, or we have very young brothers or sisters, we can see that they use technology, they use handphones and so on and so forth. But if there is nobody to guide them, okay, if there is nobody to guide them on how to use the technology, on what kind of information can be accepted and what kind of information can be believed, can be trusted, see what happens to them. So you cannot throw away the function of a teacher, even if one day technology, is heavily used in the process of teaching and learning. Teacher has to be there, because the teacher's function will be to guide the students, will be to give them real experiences, human experiences, and so on and so forth. So I think we should not worry about whether we will be obsolete as a teacher or not. I believe we will still be relevant, inshallah, forever, even if everything is using technology. So Mas Made, I think I have covered both, hopefully I have covered both questions. Thank you from me.
Okay. Perhaps for closing this session, is there any closing statement from Professor Supriyatno?
Based on PA from the Prestiadi. Any question? I tried to answer this question. Yeah. How do we continue to increase student satisfaction with learning services? Which is the highest, I guess, indicator to increase student satisfaction during online learning? Okay, based on my research, indicate that empathy, empathy, lecturer to student maybe is important to mind, yeah, and give to the student about what the problem of student in learning online, what the solution, and I think lecturer can give consultation in every time and on every place and for all students. So it is the one indicator to increase the best indicator to increase student satisfaction during online learning. So nevertheless, online learning don't stop to give consultation to students, all students. Okay.
Okay,
In
thank
this,
you.
okay, in the last my presentation,
Mhm.
I think I give recommendation to leader of higher education, maybe leader education, especially PTNBH, must be focused on customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is the king in organization. So the best customer satisfaction is one of indicator that higher education is the best, is excellent organization. Please try it. Please try recommendation. Good luck in the next.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
yeah. And from Professor Nur, do you have any, please?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned a lot just now. So my concluding remarks is I think there are a lot of positive aspects that we can learn from the pandemic, but we need to make sure that we are ready. We are able to ready ourselves and our teachers and our students for what's next to come after the pandemic. There are so many things that we've learned. There's so many positive aspects from the pandemic that we've learned. This is also a training ground for us. Not to say that we are hoping that we will face another pandemic, but just to say that at least this is a training ground that prepare us better if there is anything else, any other pandemic that comes after this. Hopefully we are well prepared, we're better prepared to face any uncertainties in the world. I think that's it from me, Mas Made and Prof.
Okay, thank you, Professor Nur. Well, I think that's all for this session with our our big four speaker. From the beginning, we have Professor Wu, we have Professor Annabelli, and then we have Professor Nur and Professor Supriyanto. I think all that has been presented, hopefully, will be give us more knowledge, will be give us more understanding about what is learning, what is how you say that, Professor? Excellent, supervise.
Excellent services.
How you say online satisfaction, customer satisfaction? Yeah, that is something new that I will
online
yeah,
service.
I never pay attention to it about satisfaction. Yeah,
Online
that's something
service.
new.
Okay.
That word is new for
Okay.
me. Okay.
Okay.
And that's all. Viewer, ladies and gentlemen, I give this back to MC.
Okay, thank you, our moderator and keynote speakers. Please give another big round of applause to our moderator and keynote speakers. The honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the closing ceremony of the first International Conference on Education Management and Technology 2022. We inform the presenters that the parallel session will be held according to the schedule that has been sent. Again, we inform the presenters that the parallel session will be held according to the schedule that has been sent committee. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the agenda we have the present to you all this morning. We hope you learn something. Thank you so much for your attention and see you on the next occasion. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a good day, everyone.